come with the second step of final account. Previously we have seen the trading account, now profit and loss account. The heading for the profit and loss account is profit and loss account of ABC Limited for the year ending 2017. The format is the same for the profit and loss account as we have discussed in the trading account. There are two portions, this portion is debit side and that portion is credit side. The difference between the both account is the direct expense and income we consider in the trading account. Now the indirect expenses and indirect incomes we will consider in the profit and loss account. For example, I am explaining these terms, like first term is the to gross loss, or here by gross profit. That means in previous account we have seen there is some profit or maybe some loss. If there was profit, then we transfer that profit in this account in credit side. Like in trading account there is to gross profit, that profit is transferable in the profit and loss account in credit side. This term is written as like by gross profit. Agar if previous account we are having the profit, if there was some loss, then we will transfer that loss in profit and loss account like to gross loss if any. Further, first of all I am discussing the debit side. First of all, the indirect expense means the expenses which are not directly to the manufacturing unit or the core product. Like first is to advertisement. If we are advertising our product or promoting our company or products in the media and print media and all, so the expenses for the advertisement we will consider it as a indirect expenses. Second one is travelers expenses. That means if we are having some salesperson or some other staff that travel for the company for the different purpose, then the traveling expenses also will be comes under the indirect expenses. To commission, the commission which we are giving to a salesperson or in the other areas, if we are paying some commission, that will consider as the indirect expense. Bad debts. The term bad debts is related to directly to the debtors. Debtor means the parties to which we are selling our product on credit. That means we are giving our product to them now and they are paying for that product after 2 months, 3 months or 6 months. That means we are giving them credit. So these parties is called debtors. If some debtors are not good in their transactions and they are not giving their amount after reminding time by time, so we will consider that amount as the bad debts. Next one is the packing charges. Packing charges means if the packing is primarily for the product, then we will consider it as a direct expense, but the additional packaging will consider in the profit and loss account as the indirect expenses. To carriage outward. Carriage outward means if we are delivering our material to the other parties, so the carriage chargeable on that delivery part, so that carriage outward is the indirect expenses. Same as if there is carriage inward, that means we will consider in the trading account debit side as a direct expense. Next one is the rent. Rent means if we are maintaining an office on rent, like administrative office on rent, so we will pay that rent to the other parties, so that is considered is the indirect expense. Salaries, the administrative staff we are that they are getting salaries from us, this is the indirect expenses for us. Now the telephone expenses, office telephone expenses, legal charges, if there are some legal charges, some contracts and all that, so it will also consider in the indirect expenses. Like next one is the printing and stationery. It is self understood what is printing and stationery. Insurance. The term insurance related to the insurance of our employees. So this is the indirect expense. If we are insuring our raw material or our labor, factory labors, that expense will come under the trading account. General expenses, that means other than these expenses, if there is additional expense as a general expense. Depreciation. Depreciation means on the fixed assets there are some value that reduces time by time, and that reduction of part of reduction considered as the depreciation in the businesses. Repair and maintenance, self understood. Discount allowed, if we are allowing some discount to our customers, that is expenses for us and also comes under the indirect expenses. Next, to interest on loan, if in our capital we are having some portion of loan, then we have to pay the interest to them borrowers. So, the interest on loan is the indirect expense. Next one is the loss by fire, or we can say loss by theft, or other loss by other natural disaster. Loss by fire means ki that is the ultimately this is the indirect expense for us, or we can say indirect loss for us. So, it will comes in the profit and loss account debit side. Final term is the net profit. If profit, that means the same process we will revise here like we done in the previous trading account. We will total all the amounts and still we will total that portion, credit portion, and the difference of those portions is considered as the net profit. If expenses are less and incomes are more, then we are in a profitability situation. Now come with the credit side portion. The first term is here by gross profit. That means in the trading account, if we are having some profit, we will consider as the gross profit. By commission received, all the indirect income comes under the profit and loss account in credit side. Commission received is an indirect income just because this is not the core business of the company. Company is selling some product and commission is coming from the other sources. So, it is the indirect income. By interest received, for example, our company having some investment with other companies, outsider companies. So, if these companies pays us to interest, this is the interest received and indirect income. Discount received, that means we are also purchasing some raw material from the other companies. So, if we are getting some discount in that deal, that will consider in the indirect expenses. Next one is the rent received, if we are having additional assets or something else which we are given for the rent to others. So, if there are some rent received is the indirect income. Now, dividend on shares. Our company having some shares of other companies, so we are getting the dividend for particular shares. If this situation is exists in the business, so the dividend on shares is also the indirect income. Now, by interest on debentures, same as we are getting dividend on share and interest on debenture is the same category. This is the other source of income, not the core business. Last one is the by income from any other sources. Other than these terms, if there are some income that is considered in the indirect section, so that will consider in the this section. Now, the final step for this account, we will total these portion and total of these portion. The difference between of two, if this is less than this, we will in the profit situation, and the term will written as the to net profit. If we are in loss, that means this portion is less than that portion. So, we are in the situation of loss. We will consider that loss as by net loss, if any. And finally, we will put the total here equally. Both portions should be equal and the difference is either profit or loss.